Good morning and welcome to the webinar with myself, Daniil. Today's webinar is based on Inventor 2020, what's new, and we're going to be going through some of the really nice new features inside of Inventor 2020 and some videos with that as well. So let's get started. So the agenda very quickly, we've got the Inventor 2020, what's new, okay, and then we're gonna take a little jump into the roadmap of Inventor from the 2019 release. We'll look at some of the features of the 2019.1, 2019.2, as well as 2019.3. These are the dot releases that come up with Inventor on a yearly basis. So you'll find that in a year, there's generally about 3 dot releases that come in. Following that, we'll look at Inventor 2020, some of the new functions and features, some really cool features in here. And then we're going to talk a bit on the product design and manufacturing collection, and then we'll take questions afterwards. Okay, so let's start. What's new? So the session summary. This presentation will be highlighting the Autodesk Inventor productivity improvements that have been delivered over the last 12 months from a lot of the ideas that's come into the new product of Inventor. So Inventor 2020 comes from the idea station. So again, it's recommended that you go onto the idea station and add in ideas or comments that you're looking to see in the new releases or versions of Inventor. Okay, so let's have a look at the evolution quickly. So before we carry on with the Inventor 2020, let's have a look and see the evolution from where it started and how it moved on. So in March 2018 was the launch of Inventor 2019. Following that, in July, we've seen the first release of the Inventor 2019.1. So that was the first dot release. In November 2018, we saw the Inventor 2019.2 dot release, and the 0.2 dot releases generally come out with a couple of features or added features. And what we've seen here was the 1D tolerance analysis introduced alongside the Inventor 2019.2 for the subscribers only. So product design and manufacturing subscribers had access to this tolerance analysis. In January of 2019, we found that there was an Inventor 2019.3 dot release, and also in April there was a 2019.4. So the 2019, it went up to 2019.4, and with that dot release comes a lot of generally fixes with regards to the second dot release. And in April 2019, we've seen Inventor 2020 come in. So before we jump right into it, Inventor customers like yourself have been providing feedback with regards to features and functions they want to see inside of Inventor in the new releases or on the dot releases, and that's what's come in. So again, it's best that you get onto the idea station and put in your ideas of what you'd like to see. So let's look at some of the releases. So this is just a recap of 2019.1, 0.2, and 0.3 before we jump into the new features. So firstly, we found that in the frame generator side of it, there was some enhancements made here with regards to the commands. So the insert command had 2 new name sections enhancements added to it. Previously, the standard always defaulted to the ANSI standard, okay, or the last use standard is now retained. So if you've been using an ISO standard, for instance, or DIN standard, or even the SAN standard, you'd find that it would not default back to the ANSI. It'll retain the last standard you worked on. Okay, sketch visibility for changes and reuse, and you can see on the slide post and pre 2019.1 release. On pre 2019.1, sorry, we found that the wireframe preview was available. Post that, it was a shaded preview that was available to you. So the previews have changed a bit. All right, and you could now also preview operations like end treatments. So miter, notches, trim to frame can be previewed. You've also found that the copy properties, you can now copy information from existing frame members when you use the insert and change member commands. And this is quite handy if you're doing multiple frames and you need to copy the properties across. Following the frames, we saw there was some enhancements to the Content Center. So the Content Center toolbar has been quite modernized. It's been refreshed. The icons in the main toolbar and the Content Center editor dialog boxes are more modernized with a new look and feel to it. If you look at the performance and productivity improvements inside of the Content Center, so opening, you could quickly open libraries from a Vault server if you've been working with the Vault. And of course, migration improvements. So the previously configured libraries under the project name would be easily migrated with the update tool. Okay, and also search enhancements. So there's been some really nice enhancements with regard to searching of library paths. So the quick select fields in the place from Content Center dialog box now becomes immediately activated when you place Content Center parts in your assembly. So this allows you to instantly enter information in the search field without having to select any search field again. In addition, you can also now clear the search field by clicking the clear button, and you would remove that search. You've also got an advanced search function that's been added in. So in the new look in field, now automatically populates with the category selected under the category view. So also the category corresponding to the selection under the category view is automatically selected in the choose category dialog box. So you'll find that there's a lot being enhanced to the Content Center side itself. And also, we've seen some enhancements to the iLogic side of it. So iLogic, personally, for me, this has been great, a great enhancement because because of the fact that you could now the support for iLogic and rule tracking is there. So iLogic now provides a type of print system statement that can be used in rules, all right? And this new functionality called iLogic logging uses iLogic functions to send log messages to a new Inventor panel and also to a log file. In addition to this, we find that there's a new automatic rule tracking mechanism that's built in. So rule tracking helps you visualize when and why the rule is run, which is really, really great, right? And I found that to be very helpful when using iLogic. Okay, and there's quite a bit of information on this, and we can have a discussion afterward if you require. Okay, AnyCAD translators. So the AnyCAD translators has been improved. So for SolidWorks step files, okay, SolidWorks mesh data can now be imported. Previously, it was not available. In the dialog box objection filters, you just check the mesh options to include the meshes from the selected file, and all the information for working with that mesh data is in there. All right. Step, you can now import graphical PMI data from step 242 files by just checking the graphical PMI option on the options dialog box, import options dialog box utility that comes in. And of course, the AnyCAD performance has been improved quite significantly. If we go into the collaboration side of it, so 3D annotations are now shown in shared views and in also Fusion Team. So previously the 3D annotations were not available in shared views. Now you have access to that. 3D annotations are also not visible when you create the view, when the view is created to be excluded, so you can switch it off. Okay, so that's quite nice with collaboration. And of course, the whole command. So the values in the whole command and the tooltip values. Okay, so that has been enhanced quite a bit. So the value field displayed parameter names in tooltips. So value fields are now displayed the parameter name in the tooltip. So when you pause the cursor over the parameter, the name displays with the value, which is really cool. Panel menu, the whole command has new entities in the panel menu. Okay, we've got pre-select sketch points, automatically share sketch of that, also value edit feedback as well. Okay, so there's been some nice enhancements on that side. Also, what's really great for new users, and this is a very, very nice add-in, you find that with regards to what's new that's been highlighted, you'll see a little orangey kind of dot just above the what's new features or enhanced features that's been added in, which helps you recognize the new function. So that's a really, really nice enhancement to add in. Feedback in product data. So when you install Inventor, you have a chance to opt in or out of the data collection, right? So based on your Inventor usage data, half section view is used most often in parts and assembly models. Therefore, with this update, you'll find that in the section view command will default to half section. All right. For the first use of Inventor session, you can actually see it work as you work along. It recognizes half section being used more commonly, more often, and that would come in. All right. There's also some breadcrumb, so you can edit and edit the feature and sketch names from within the property panel. Okay. Click the breadcrumb text you want to edit to activate it. Click again to enter edit mode and modify the text. Once you press enter, you complete the change that's there, all right? Or the changes that you've made. So there's also some presets as well. Presets are now store tolerance information for the value fields, all right? As you can see on screen, you can access the tolerance dialog from the field flyout menu to revert to no tolerance value, set the tolerance type to default, and save the preset. Right? When a value has a tolerance, the value edit control displays a colored background under the flyout arrow, as you can see in there, and on the flyout menu itself. All right, so that's some really, really nice enhancements to it. So these are all productivity enhancements, allows you to become a little more productive when using Inventor for design. All right, Inventor 2019.2. There was also some really nice enhancements here. One was to the frame generator. So the frame generator contains the following performance and productivity enhancements that have been enhanced in 2019.2. And one is the application options. Okay, the file tab has a new file naming default section for frame generator. So I know I have had a lot of questions around file namings in there. 2019.2, you could have actually edited those naming functions in there. All right. So in the file naming dialog, defaults dialog, you can click add attribute drop down list to configure the naming scheme itself, and you can change the naming schemes in that. On the MITRE option, the option to select multiple frame members is added to the dialog box, so you could do multiple mitres at the same time, which is very nice. The notch option as well, select multiple frame members, as well as the change. The new selection for editing behavior is introduced to the change command. All right, so there's some nice enhancements on that side. Moving along to the content center enhancements in 2019.2, you find that there's multiple search enhancements that's been added to it. So advanced search and basic tab categories are now located in the quick search panel in the content center editor. So you can see on screen there's advanced search tab in there. All right, the search query saves to the active search category, and also the name of the search is search name of the search is the search values. To rename the saved search, you just got to click on the name in the browser itself. All right. Apart from just authoring tools on the tube and pipe authoring, you can now author a part with up to 30 connections. All right. So previously the maximum was 10. Now you could author something with 30. So as you can see, it's become quite nice for authoring content center for tube and pipe commands. All right. With iLogic as well, a little enhancement has happened from the previous enhancement we've discussed. A checkbox, detailed trace, is added to the iLogic rule editor. All right. Edit dialog box in the advanced iLogic configuration dialog box. When selected, the log messages are automatically generated when running a rule at the trace level. So this setting control is the value of the API property. All right. And that property is the iLogic VB automation property that's in the backend that allows you to actually do this trace. So it helps out users with complexity of the rules itself, right? So you could actually trace the log as well. Okay, with regard to drawings, performance improvements in the 2019.2, we saw some update performance for cut views or section views as well. Presets for existing commands have been updated in there as well. So surface textures like 2D and 3D annotations for detail uses have been there. There is some overlay enhancements that's been added to it, so you no longer need to use a positional representation to create an overlay. You can now use any view representation to create an overlay view, which is really great because previously you had to create position, either open or closed position to create that overlay. Now you could use any one of these view representations. This workflow is useful when the position of the components does not change, right? But when you want to emphasize a particular part or assembly in a view, right? As you can see in the following image, the parent view is shaded handle assembly and the overlay is another view representation that shows the rest of the components in dashed lines, right? Okay, with regards to AnyCAD with Fusion 360, so you've also got an enhancement there where Inventor and Fusion 360 for generative design has been integrated. So with your desktop connector, you could have it move across, and also Fusion 360 supporting Inventor assemblies, which has been something that a lot of people have been asking for in the past, and I see Autodesk has added it in, which is really, really cool. The generative design for Inventor assemblies is also very, very nice. It's one of the topics that I'll be considering doing in the future, just to show you how you could make use of Autodesk generative design with regards to Inventor assemblies and specifically the frame generator itself. The Inventor Ideas, so the model browser enhancements, so access points of the model browser have been added for all document types. So when the browser is not displayed, you will see the icon in the upper left of the graphics display. If you click to show the available browser panels for the active document, it becomes available. Now, as you can see there, solid selection, solid texture. So in the application options, you could go in and add the color tab. You can pick the selection solid texture, which allows you to specify a texture map to use to the capping faces that are used in the model. All right. Section views, the default is a gray color. Right. To use another color, you just got to create an image and select the image in the solid texture dialog box to create that and change that. So another thing, the spell check has been added there. So the format text dialog box now provides Inventor with the spell check functionality, which is really nice. So when spell check is turned on, a red you see the red sniggly lines display underneath the text, of course, if it's incorrect. Very similar to our Microsoft applications when we use that, like Word, for instance. You could see what text is spelled incorrectly. Right? And of course, the support is for 18 different languages, which is supported in this. So fixes and updates, something really nice to actually read up and see in the help screen under the home. You'll find under every release, you can see the release notes to see what's been updated and what's fixed. So if it's something that you want to find out more about and what features and functions are there, you can access that help screen directly from Inventor Help itself. And of course, the tolerance analysis. So this is something really, really cool, and we'll discuss more about it in the 2020 side of it as we move along. But it is fully integrated with Inventor, so you could calculate the effects of geometry dimensions and tolerances, also generate detailed reports to collaborate with other users or manufacturing itself. And you can also calculate worst case scenarios in here, and there's different standards that it'll work with that you can pull out. But we'll dive more deeper into it as we move along. So that was covering the 2019 dot releases. I thought it was really nice just to add it in, just so you could actually go back and recap. We're going to move on now into Inventor 2020, what's new itself. Okay, so with Inventor 2020, we've seen some improvements and core modeling workflows, in addition to more productive experience and modernized look and feel. So if you have Inventor 2020 installed, you'll find that it's got a really different feel to it, a bit more modernized, and this has been requested by users on the Idea Station. Okay, so with Inventor 2020, it delivers a more enhanced user interface, okay? Workflows, streamlined part modeling, smart sketch profile detection, multi-monitor app frame that's available, and a more modernized look and feel, right? We've also got customer-driven improvements. So solid sweep was one of them. All right. Frame design productivity was also one of the customer-driven improvements that Autodesk has added in. Also, some of the presets and several other enhancements that has come from the Idea Station. Okay, and some of the functionalities that's also been added to it, it's been faster import functions, faster patterning, navigation, tube and pipe route edits have been enhanced quite a bit to be a lot more quicker, as well as the expanded express mode functionality. So there's been some enhancements on the express mode. So let's jump into it. First one is the user interface enhancement. So again, with the new user interface theme enhancement in 2020, the light theme updates a touch of all aspects to the user interface, including color schemes, icon display, also color or background manipulators. All right, in there. So if you look at the visuals of it, various parts of Inventor user face underwent a refresh to update the display. The new lighting style, the light theme, okay, it's got a bit of an icon refresh, and you'll find that the icons look a bit more modernized, which is really nice. There's also a feature that's been manipulated. So colors indicated that work with the light theme manipulation. So basically, in what's happening there is that some of the features that you see inside of has been manipulated to that light new theme that's been added in. All right, thread texture. So there's been an update to provide better feel to it. Also, there's a grounded plane that's been updated as well. So an update to be compatible with the new color scheme. You got an added option to dynamically reduce the grid line count when zooming out. The count is restored gradually as you zoom in. The major axes are colored to match the origin axes to see that's seen in the model. Okay, so the graphic display has been refreshed quite a bit, okay, in it. From a command point of view, some of the command enhancements here that's been command, and you can see extrude, revolve, sweep, and thread have been enhanced quite a bit. As you can see, the extrude function looks a bit different. The sweep function looks a bit different. So you can see some refreshments that has taken place on the some of the commands as well. Okay, the property panel layout and buttons are enhanced as well. So the new commands have been added in there, as you can see on screen. Multiple support monitor. So previously this was not available. You can now use a single Inventor session on multiple windows and with multiple monitors, which is really, really nice because a lot of us design with 2 monitors, right? And the new window management controls allow you to firstly drag document tabs across the main Inventor window into another monitor. This is not available when a command is active. However, you could arrange documents side by side, top to bottom in various configurations. The window tile toggles are moved to the advanced drop-down menu at the far right of the document tab. Also, clean screen also hides the document tab. So the purpose of that, if you want to work without the browser document tab in the ribbon and maximize your workspace, you could use a clean screen to toggle that, which I found to be really, really effective. And also the model browser is also dockable windows that can be docked to the primary or secondary window frame, which is also really cool. Let's have a look in a bit more detail to see how this works. So in the tool tabs, the assembly side of it, as you can see, We've got an assembly in there. We've got our content center. We can look at our constraints. We can look at the quality, and we can drag this across two screens. Now, as you see on screen, we've got updates happening to our drawing as well as our part and the assembly. Okay, looking at the thread enhancement in here, you can see that the dialog box does look a bit different. All right, from that, all right, so let's move on. So also performance has been one of the big things that have been significantly improved, all right? And the following areas have been improved in the assembly side of it. So entering in-place edits are faster, okay? Window selection when using component, part, or body selection filters shows significantly better performance improvements. So it's much faster, much quicker. When you pan, zoom, and rotate, there have been some improvements on the performance on that side, as well as component patterns were redesigned, right, to improve performance in preview and navigation. Also to use the active view representation, not in the master view representation, but in the active. Improve pattern compute performance. So when you're doing patterns, pattern command, that's been the computing performance have been quite significantly upgraded in that side. Also using the visibility toggle in the marking and the context menu is faster for deep level components in large assemblies. And using the object visibility to change the state of the work feature, so 2D sketches, 3D sketches, and so on. You find that there have been some significant improvements in that. Express mode, so 3D selection view performance has been improved in that area, as well as the overall performance of tube and pipe is quite improved. Okay, so it enables you to make a larger, more complex inventor design. Still sticky with the performance side of it, on the part side of it. So the feature pattern performance is improved for nesting feature patterns and also identical feature patterns. All right. The part files with imported DXF or DWG files now open a lot faster. And on the drawing side of it, you see that there's been some improvements with regards to previewing performance for faster drawing workflows, the changing hidden line display for part in assembly views using the browser context menu, the hidden line options, the auxiliary view, also the drawing section performance have been improved, right? And of course, with regards to all of these improvements, AnyCAD import and edit performance that's referencing AnyCAD in assemblies is now has been improved quite significantly. All right, let's have a look and see what the improvements. All right, so in here, as you can see, the section view. Improvements on that to bring it into the drawing environment. It's a much more smoother and much more effective way, and you can see it is quite easily done. It's moving along quite fast. If we bring in a model into this into our assembly, switch on some visibilities of the sketch views, right? Just modify some of the dimensions to where they assemble to. Change the appearance on that. We assign some appearances to that. And add in all of the components that's been in there. We switch off the visibility of everything else. We start looking at just the component itself that we want to work with. So patterning and doing some patterning of holes. And as you can see, it is quite quick to do these patterning. So returning to the main menu again, you'll find that to actually pattern these holes and get these holes in the assembly or the features that we add in is quite enhanced. All right. So looking at some of the design enhancements, so this has been a really nice enhancement. It's actually quite effective tool. So the solid sweep. Okay, solid sweep tool body along a path. So in here, Now you can use a solid sweep to create complex shapes, simulate a tool path, or to design timing screws. All right. The tool body is not required to be revolved or cylindrical, or a cylindrical body itself. So some of the tips for successful sweep: avoid making overlap segments in your sketches. All right. Place the tool body at the start of the sweep. The path is not required to be G1 tangent or G2 smooth continuous, but the best results are obtained with G2 continuous paths. Okay. When you create the tool body, use a minimum amount of geometry to avoid internal voids. This increases both performance and computing power, success with the computing power. If the sweep fails to compute, try removing tool body fillets. In some cases, it may help to add fillets. Okay, the helical curve command creates an associative center axis you can select in the direction vector and aligned sweep. All right, so there's been a nice enhancement on this side. If we look at keeping with the design enhancements, there's a new unwrap command that can flatten a face that cannot be calculated with the unfold or sheet metal flat pattern commands. So example of this is to determine a fabric pattern or a flattening stamped objects that's been stamped out. So the unwrap does not use bin calculations to flatten the selected faces. There's a heat map, as you can see on screen there, that displays during the unwrap process. So you can see areas of highest to least tension. Okay. You can also specifically continuously, you can specify continuous segments to remain linear or rigid. The option create dedicated to view representation makes it easier to isolate the document in the output surface. All right, so let's have a look and see what this means. So there's a component here. We've flat patterned that in sheet metal. Now, those folded bodies, we can go back to the folded bodies, go back to 3D, unwrap tool. And if we click on the face, notice that it will unwrap in the direction for that. Now, it's not to be confused for sheet metal flat pattern. It's not. It's just to show you what that face will look like when it's being stretched across. And you can see the high stress areas or high stretch and tension areas of that material. You can put that onto a drawing as well and place it in as a base view. Again, you can select your view options in here and you've got that coming in. Dimensioning is also possible in that, and you could see what it looked like. So it's a really, really nice little addition that's been added. You'll find that in the 3D model environment under the create environment. So if we go into iLogic, we can choose different model parameters, so different sizes for that, and you can see our different angles in that case. And with an update, it does translate across, which is really nice. Okay. Okay, keeping with the design enhancements when using, so leveraging for more complex sketches, it's also easily within the extrude command. Now you'll notice that the extrude command has got a bit of a facelift in here. So when using the taper option with adjacent regions, the operation merges the faces to create a single unfielded result. All right. Identifying and selecting loops in the regions are significantly enhanced in this area. As you hover or move the cursor over the sketch, the loops or enclosed regions are highlighted for which makes it possible to execute that command. Okay, this behavior applies to sketch blocks as well. So in previous releases, if you used Control plus the click to avoid or remove these items from the selection set, in this you don't have to. The cursor and the status bar notification update to show you the action that will happen as you hover over loops or regions. So we can have a look in a bit more detail on what this means. So we're going to go into the extrude command. As you can see, you could hover your cursor over it and it highlights the specific regions. If you select all, you'd have access to doing an extrusion for all. Again, you could go in and just by selecting without control or using control, you can select regions that you do not want to have extrude. Okay. And you could have a multi-body extrusion using just using one command, basically. If we add a taper angle to that, okay, and we can see that the taper angle has been enhanced as well inside of the extrude command. So really nice, makes it designing or modeling very a bit more easier using this workflow. Keeping with some of the design enhancements again, so sketch blocks consumed by features are now displayed in the relationship dialog box. Okay, context center enhancements. A plus sign is no longer displayed in the front of the category that does not have a subfolder. You can now sketch using keywords such as ANSI, M8 by 13, and related members display in the search results. Okay, in addition, quick search now supports 2 wildcard characters, okay, an asterisk, which represents 1 or more characters, and a question mark, which represents a single character, okay, which is really handy when doing searches. Okay, when installing a new version of Inventor, you can migrate certain settings previously, as we've seen in the past, all right, from previous releases. So we saw that in 2019, where you could migrate settings across. You can select which group of settings to migrate. New groups of command settings can be migrated between releases as well. Okay, settings, so you got command settings in here, and also content is the presets that's available to you. Okay, so let's have a look and see with this video what this means. So if we go into that, we can go in and select our extrude to certain aspects of our sketch that we want to extrude. Okay, we can look at the relationship in there. All right, and our sweep command. So this is the solid sweep, all right, that we've discussed to create that complex shape. All right, we pick the solid, and of course the axis is next. All right, so we've got our shape in there. We go back into the top level assembly, and if we animate it, we can play the animation to see what is happening in there. All right, so let's move on to the frame generator. The miter command in the frame generator is now in the property panel. So in the new panel, you do not need to select an option to miter multiple members at the same time. A trim selected part checkbox is added that lets you select the side you want to keep, and you can now remove end treatments from multiple members at the same time, which makes using frame generator quite a handy tool. Okay, also there have been an addition to the frame generator, which is the end caps. Okay, to use the new insert end cap command to close structural frame members, you can set the position, thickness, specify the profile shape, and other properties inside of that property toolbox, as you see on screen. The notch command is now a property panel. In the new panel, you do not need to select an option to notch multiple members at the same time. Previously, it was difficult to create a custom notch. In this release, you can now specify the following properties. Okay, the base profile. This is to set an angle offset value. Custom eye template to set multiple offset values, and also a custom profile you can add it. So if this is available, you can use a custom notch profile saved in the content center family to add to your member. Also, you can check the new perpendicular cut option to create precise intersections into it. Okay, so it is really handy and really nice for the guys that's doing frame generators, right? And we're still keeping with frame generators. You can now interact with in-canvas manipulators when you insert or change a frame member. In addition to the new property panel, the lengthen shorten command now allows you to specify different offsets. Okay, so lengthen shorten, asymmetric offsets are allowed now in the new frame generator. Let's have a look and see what this means. All right, so publish part, we're going to publish this to our content center, which we will use following this. Okay, it's going to go into the other parts dialog box in that category. Okay, that's our custom property that we added in there. Publish that. The publish has been successful. So if we've got to use it in our frame generator environment, if we open up the frame, notice that we'll start off doing the mitre. So multiple select mitre is available, which makes it a lot easier and much more quicker to actually do the mitre operation. Which I'm quite a fan of, because every time selecting two faces, applying it does take up time. In this way, it's a lot quicker and a lot easier, as you see it on screen. So the next one is adding an end cap. So with the new end cap command, as you can see in there, you specify the placement rotation of that. Where do you insert it? You pick the face. So we pick a face to insert the end caps, and it's specify placement, and we can apply that. Notice that it will come up very similar to the frame generator property that's available. It comes up with that, and we can place end caps in the rest of the model. So there's different types of profiles that we can place it. We can also specify rotation angle that we want for the end cap, and we can place our published part that we've just published to the content center. So very, very nice workflow in this. If you've got custom end caps that you want to add in, you could go in and place them to the content center, and when you're doing the end caps in the frame environment, you could actually place them in. Now, if we look at the assembly itself, everything's been notched quite so nice and neatly. As you can see that the end caps that we've just placed in is available to us. Okay, and still keeping with the mitre and the frame in enhancements environment. So under frame generator, we'll go in to the naming of the members. Okay, and we can modify the names on that, change the member around a bit, rotate it to the angle that we need to. Add our custom plate in there, and of course select the naming convention for what we want to add in. Okay, also the cut, the way it miters, that can be modified. The behavior of the frame can be set as well to specific offsets, and we can trim selected. So end treatment removal, you've just seen there, we've managed to remove them out. We add another end cap to this member, and it makes it quite nice and easy to actually generate a frame. All right, so these are really, really nice enhancements. As you can see, if we pull out a below materials, our parts list, you drop that in, and we can see the naming convention that we've selected. So next, we're going to jump into some of the customer-driven enhancements. So Autodesk has implemented over 35 customer-driven enhancements in Inventor 2020. One of it being the solid sweep, the frame frame generated productivity, complex surfacing, unwrapped flat pattern, and also Inventor read-only mode, right? And there's some other several ideas that's been submitted, and that's been added to Inventor 2020. So let's have a look at some of them. Okay, so we find that in the customer-driven enhancements, mirror components such as sheet metal enhancements that has been added there. So the mirror component command now recognizes a sheet metal part and lets you link the sheet metal style of the source component to the mirrored copy, which is really cool. The joint enhancement, joint create enhancement, so you can now select the center point of a slot to define a joint. The tube and pipe enhancement, the application options in the file tab, file naming dialog box is now included tube and pipe, where you can specify how tube and pipe creates files and folders. For example, on this, you can use these settings to keep a folder structure flat and completely eliminate the API subdirectory. In addition, you can now configure a naming scheme using the options in the new add attribute drop-down list, as we've seen in the frame generator. Okay, design accelerators. So the shaft generator, the shaft component generator dialog box now includes a toggle that allows you to specify how files and folders for shaft components are created. Okay, so in here, Inventor read-only mode allows you to access Inventor IPT and assembly files, as well as drawings, IDW and DWG, and also presentations, so IPN files, for viewing in the Inventor user interface without consuming any Inventor license. So it's really, really nice. It's a very nice viewer. The Inventor read-only installs, it comes with the installation media, so you can install that as well. So, so anyone that does not have Inventor installed can use this read-only mode just by downloading an Inventor trial. Okay, the trial access to full Inventor capabilities, but of course it's time-bound by 30 days. But the read-only mode does not expire, so you could have the Inventor read-only mode running, and just the Inventor the trial would expire, right? Something important to note here, that the Inventor read-only mode is intended for viewing only. A file can be edited or saved in read-only mode, does not support the creation of 3D model based on annotations, 2D annotations, or 2D dimensions. So there's no editing that can happen in read-only. Right. Let's have a look at some of the customer-driven enhancements. Firstly, the mirror component. As you can see, it brings in the properties that can be inputted from the base member. The joints, so placing joints in there. All right, that can be added in there, as well as in the unwrap mode. We've seen this earlier on. You could actually unwrap a part based on specific edges. All right, and the bill of material side of it, exporting it out. These are some of the customer-driven enhancements, as you can see in here. The half section view that we add in there. Okay, so some of the customer-driven enhancements, just very quickly to go over. The next side is the interoperability side of it. There's version updates, so there's some import enhancements here for the various different CAD packages that's been enhanced. All right. So CATIA version 5, JTE Parasolid Rhino, as well as SolidWorks. The translations to import and export has been enhanced as well. The next is the Inventor, Fusion, and AnyCAD. Okay, Fusion 360 AnyCAD. You can work seamlessly between the two. All right, which this AnyCAD functionality has been added in the 2018.2 release. All right. Now it's fully integrated feature for Inventor and Fusion 360 subscribers. So AnyCAD for Fusion 360 for customers who need to share data between Fusion and Inventor for any collaboration or generative design workflows. All right. Let's have a look at what this means. All right, there's a part coming in. It's in Inventor. Added some functions to that. Goes into SolidWorks. There's some additions happening in here, or some changes. An update will reflect the change that happens in there. Right. Back to a CATIA part. We bring that in into Inventor. Import into Inventor. Okay, some modifications. We export that file out to a JT format. You can import it in for generative design. And once the design iterations, we can pick the best one. Build that into Fusion 360 for generative design. Export that out, import it in using the desktop connector, as you can see on screen. Bring that from Fusion 360 to Inventor as a reference model. Important to keep it as a reference model, so any update changes will reflect across, and that can be placed in. Inside of Fusion itself, modifications can be made to it, or additions to parts can be made to it. you can see, we're adding extrusion, some holes to that. And if we update inside of Inventor, you'll see the references that have been changed have updated in here. That's in keeping within the reference link itself. Okay, so that brings us to the sort of the end of the features that we've seen in Inventor 2020. Let's have a quick discussion around the product design and manufacturing collection. You'll find that Inventor is still in the main side of it, but it's supported by a lot of other applications that work into it. So Inventor for various documentation, design, electromechanical workflows, as well as you've got access to tools like simulation with Nastran in CAD or Inventor Nastran. And you've got the nesting utilities, you've got CAM functions inside of the collection as well. So it brings up a workflow from conceptual mockups to a generative design. You can take it into additive or subtractive manufacturing, design collaboration, as well as having the data managed using Autodesk Vault as well. So in the collection, so there's something to note here. Pre-2020 release, it was called Nastran in CAD. On the 2020 release, it's called Inventor Nastran. Again, HSM, it was Inventor HSM Ultimate and Inventor HSM Premium. Now it's called Inventor CAM. All right. The nesting utility is now called Inventor Nesting, and you have access to the Inventor Tolerance Analysis, which stays the same, Inventor Tolerance Analysis. And Inventor HSM Express is now named to Inventor CAM Express. So there have been some updates to it. I'm going to take some questions now. If there's any questions, please type it in the type box and we can answer them. And we'll just allow a couple of minutes for that. Okay, there don't seem to be too many questions regarding the update or the 2020 release. If there is any questions that come to mind or following that, please feel free to contact us. My email address is on screen. Alternatively, you can give us a ring back on the telephone number on screen if you want to have a bit more of a detailed discussion. Alternatively, if you want to arrange to actually have a demonstration on some of the new features, please feel free to get in contact. So with that, I would like to end the webinar. Thank you very, very much for attending and have a great day further.